Well, joining us tonight is John Solomon, award-winning investigative reporter, editor-in-chief of JustTheNews.com. And John, good to have you with us. I must say,
thanks,
Adam Schiff doesn't mind lying a bit, does he? He does it with ease. He does it with seeming pride.
Listen, I've talked to a lot of people in the last few days who feel like he's a modern-day Joe McCarthy, that he is willing to impugn people's reputations with innuendo rather than fact, and to say whatever needs to be said in public, and to watch people on television say one thing and then go behind his closed doors and tell them the truth, which was completely opposite. Yesterday was a bad day for Adam Schiff, not only because the Flynn prosecution he touted got thrown away, but because his own transcripts undercut his 3.5-year narrative of Russian collusion. You went through them before, Lou. You had it on the money. Every witness couldn't provide a single piece of evidence of collusion.
It is really very impressive. Going through 53 witnesses, 57 transcripts, and the only people lying are the people conducting the hearings, seeking the testimony, and of course the investigators themselves, whether from the FBI or the DOJ. You said the big loser on your site on Just the News was certainly and unequivocally Adam Schiff. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I went through 10 statements he made on the floor of Congress in official congressional documents, on television and newspaper interviews, and I show what he said versus what was known at the time he said it in the intelligence community. And 10 out of 10 times, Chairman Schiff's statements were directly contradicted by the evidence in the case. One of my favorite ones, and I think also one of the most important ones, he read into the record on March 20th, 2017, parts of the Christopher Steele dossier that today, thanks to the declassification that Attorney General Barr and DNI Grinnell gave us, we now know that evidence, that very thing he read into the record, was Russian disinformation served to Christopher Steele by the Russian intelligence services. It has to be pretty embarrassing to Adam Schiff and his constituents to know he read into the congressional record what turned out to be Russian disinformation.
And the relationship between the motivations of the radical Dems, the radical deep state, they were perfectly aligned in many instances with Russian counterintelligence objectives and misinformation propaganda campaign objectives. It's just, is that coincidence? Or do you see a reason to investigate why there is a basis for potential collusion between the Democrats and the Russians?
Listen, I think Vladimir Putin's interests and the Democratic Party's interests just happened to collide. I don't think that with the exception of the crank call that Adam Schiff fell for, I don't think they were directly talking to the Russians. I have a book coming out in a couple months, and it's going to really show that the real reason they tried to put Donald Trump on defense on Russia is that they had the Democratic Party had its own stream of 8 years of failures with Russia, and they didn't want that to get out. And so the effort to create the collusion case and to fan it all through the beginning of the presidency to handicap President Trump was really an effort to cover up 8 years of failure of Russia policy under Barack Obama, Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton. I'm looking forward to being able to talk about that in July, because people are going to be surprised how many things the Obama administration was trying to hide from the American public.
It looks as though they had even more to hide than their severest critics imagined. And this conversation in early January in the Oval Office with Sally Yates, Joe Biden, and Comey and Brennan, this is ugly stuff, that a president knows more about what is happening on wiretapped phone calls with an incoming president's national security advisor than do the counterintelligence folks in the FBI.
Yeah, no, listen, I've said for some time, Barack Obama has gotten a pass, that he and Joe Biden have not been asked the hard questions that they need to be asked about. What did they know? When did they know it? What did they encourage themselves? But if you look at Barack Obama's record, he did not like General Flynn. He fired him in 2014. He tells Donald Trump in November, North Korea and Mike Flynn are the two biggest threats he faces. And then right after he makes that comment, the conspiracy to get Michael Flynn begins. And as the Attorney General said the other day, and as the evidence, if you actually read the evidence, shows, they opened a case without legal cause against Flynn. They did an interview that they had no legal right to do, and then they falsified what he said to make it look like he lied. Barack Obama has to own some responsibility. And the real question is, did he encourage James Comey or anyone in the justice and intelligence system to go after Flynn? That's something that is worth investigating this spring and summer.
And now in investigation, and we can be hopeful that the investigation of the investigators will come to a swift and revelatory conclusion. John Solomon, we've had a lot of revelations this week. It's been a great week for everyone but the deep state and the radical Dems. That means it's a great week for America. We appreciate you being with us.